Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of NCompass Live. I am your host, Krista Burns, here at the Nebraska Library Commission. NCompass Live is the Commission's weekly online event where we cover anything that may be of interest to librarians across the state and across the country. We do these sessions live every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. Central Time, and they are all recorded. So if you're unable to join us on Wednesday mornings, that's fine. You can always watch any of our recordings that we have out there. We do all sorts of different things, presentations, little Q&A sessions, mini training sessions, whatever we can think of. And we have commission staff that do sessions, and we have guest speakers, which we have a mixture of today. To my left here is Catherine Brockmeyer from the Nebraska Library Commission, and she's got a few people online with us and here in the room with us who are going to talk about attending conferences as scholarship students. So I will just hand over to you, Catherine, to introduce yourself and what we're doing today.
Great. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. I am Catherine Brockmeyer, Research Analyst at the Nebraska Library Commission. I am the Project Coordinator for the Institute of Museum and Library Services grant to the Nebraska Library Commission. And what happened was we received a Laura Bush 21st Century Librarian grant to provide scholarships to Nebraskans pursuing a degree or certificate in library science, whether that be to become a public librarian, an academic librarian, a school librarian, work in a special library, all sorts of different libraries, so pursuing different kinds of academic credentials. And another benefit of the scholarship program is that we provide not only tuition and fees and reimbursement for books, but we also provide stipends to help students gain a broader experience, first through attendance at a national or regional conference, through the purchase of a laptop, which allows them to better and more effectively participate in their online classes, since so many of them are now online, and so much homework is online driven, requiring better video capacity, sometimes doing their own screen captures and some different things like that. And then also the stipend also covers membership in one national or regional association, or local, actually, state association. So that's what we've called the value-added experience. Another part of the value-added experience is that each student is required to join a Facebook page, which I will show you in a little bit, to encourage communication between the Nebraska Library Commission staff and the students, but also for the students to start to interact with other Nebraska librarians who are fans of the page. And last but not least, we require our students to participate in 3 trainings, whether they be online or in person. We offer announcements for online trainings. We offer trainings that are free, and a lot of them are recorded so that our students can watch them on their own time. And then they are required to provide feedback via the forum, which is also in the Facebook page, which I will show you here just briefly before we so I just wanted to introduce the scholarship program. The other half of the program is that we provide grants to public libraries to hire interns as a means for them to see what happens in a library behind the scenes, to learn about the various sorts of work that goes on in libraries, perhaps to inspire some of the interns to think about librarianship as a career, and for them to learn about the different educational avenues that they might pursue in order to gain the education that they might want in order to become a librarian. So here's the scholarships page that anyone who would come to apply for a scholarship or learn about the scholarships. Here's the description. It talks about all of the dynamics that I mentioned already. It talks about the detailed application information, and our next deadline will be November 1st. And then here's an orientation page which our scholarship students have access to. It talks about the major paperwork that needs to be completed, applications for stipends, how we reimburse for that, completing surveys to let us know what they've learned and how we did, information about the training sessions, and just letting them know that we're going to track them down from time to time, either to say we need a form from you or how's it going. And then there is the Nebraska, I'm going to cover us for just a second, the Nebraska Librarians Learning Together Facebook page, which is a really easy, it's facebook.com/Nebraska Librarian, so really easy URL. We have 214 individuals who like the page. Some of them are Nebraska librarians, some of them are students, some of them are scholarship students. And I try to post different things of interest, what's going on, hot topics and trends in library world. And sometimes other people will post their questions or their observations of what's going on in library world. We'd really like to see this become more interactive.
I've noticed there's been lots of good conversations on there about various topics. It does vary depending on the topic and
right.
who's interested in it, but there's lots of conversations going on there, definitely.
Right. And the other thing about a page is that depending on how you're on Facebook, you may not receive all the updates unless you have your settings to receive all updates from all pages. So actually what I post here you may not see either because you're not on or because of your settings. If you're not interacting with the page often and visiting the page, you're not going to see these in your feed. And here's the forum really quickly. Here's where we post all the stipend opportunities. So for example, for the American Library Association, which we're going to hear about, the Public Library Association, and LITA, National Forum. And so those are all on here, and anyone who attended those conferences, we have requested that they post there. And then also here are the other trainings that have ever been announced, and individuals who have participated in those trainings have commented. All right, I think that pretty much covers it. Does anyone have any questions right now? I'm happy to discuss the scholarship program itself at the end, but does anyone have any questions so far?
Nobody has typed in anything yet.
All right.
If you do, use that question section of your GoToWebinar interface over there on the side of your screen, and we'll be able to see them right here.
Excellent. So I think we'll start with Tina Walker, who was with us from the very beginning of our scholarship program. She came on in the first wave, and we sent her to LITA, which she will describe what that is. And she has since graduated and has a lovely job that we'll want to hear about. And what I've asked our scholarship students to do is to discuss some of why they chose that conference. I think I asked you to think about that. Who you met at the conference, what sessions you may have attended, and the biggest thing for us is what you take away from it. How has it impacted perhaps the courses you plan to still take, or your library job, or what you'd like to pursue for a career? Perhaps you were inspired. So we'll start with Tina, and you should be able to talk now. Good morning, Tina.
Good morning.
And did you have anything on your computer screen that you wanted to share? Otherwise, I will visit the National Forum website.
Nope, the National Forum's fine.
Okay, and you can just walk me through and let me know what you want me to show. So I am going to, you don't need to see us. No, we're not talking. So, okay, Tina, I'm just going to turn it over to you, and I might do some questions that kind of probe into a couple of things that perhaps I think that they might want to hear. Otherwise, you just go ahead and go for it. We're going to spend about 10 minutes with each student, and then we can also do follow-up questions. Go ahead.
Okay. The LITA National Forum, a lot of people don't even know what that is. LITA is an organizational section of American Library Association, and it's basically the technology division of ALA. And I've always been very interested in the future of libraries and technology, so I joined this organization, and I also signed up to serve on a committee. I'm actually on the planning committee for this year's conference in Columbus, Ohio. And so I needed to attend the LITA National Forum from last year so I could go to the meetings to discuss this upcoming session. And so the stipend allowed to pay for my hotel, my travel to get there, paid for like room and food, board, travel. And if I didn't have the stipend, I would not have been able to attend the scholarship conference. LITA is a pretty large organization for ALA, and it's very technical, so a lot of people kind of shy away from it a little bit. But I do recommend that even if you don't consider yourself a tech head, that you still once in a while go to some of these sessions, and because you will learn some things, whether it's over your head or not, you will learn part of it. Let's see. Sorry, I have my list up here. This was one of my first national conferences, so I don't get to go out to a lot of these yet. At the time, I was still just a student, and I didn't have my current position as a library director. I not only enjoyed the conference itself, but there are times during the conferences that you can go out and travel around the cities that you're in and do some sightseeing and some touring. Probably one of the best things that come out of this conference is that they offer networking dinners, and sometimes it's not on the schedule, and I didn't know about these until I actually got to the conference. But each night there's like a 2.5-hour window where you can register. It's just randomly for a different restaurant, and it puts you in a group of different librarians from all over the country, and then you all go have supper together, and then you just talk about libraries and where you work at, and then you can kind of mingle and interact with each other and learn from other librarians just over a meal. The keynote speakers are always really good. The LIDA National Forum strives to have very current and well-known speakers come to their groups. John Bleiberg, I've heard him speak 3 times now at this point. He is probably one of the best speakers I think I've listened to in a while. And let's see. So we go through, we have the main speakers of the conference, and they teach you a little bit about kind of an overview of a different area of the library. And then at the conference, there's, of course, just like ALA's annual conference, there's all kinds of different little sessions you can go to. And because this is LIDA, most of the sessions are oriented to technology in libraries. So you can pick which field you're looking at. I happen to be more interested in ebooks, Kindles, because we're trying to incorporate those into the library. So I did a lot of sessions on those. Sorry, I'm just reading my list here. I did also the Evolving Semantic World, Barbara McGlamory. That was a very interesting session. I learned a lot about libraries. You read that title and you have no idea what it means usually. And you go sit through the sessions and they wind up going off topic and talking about a lot of important things that you wouldn't expect to hear at these conferences. The changing, behind the scenes changing of libraries, the different coding that they're going to use, how libraries input their information into their ILS systems. She did a lot of discussion on that, and that was very important to me as a new librarian and a student not really understanding. She really went into depth and explained a lot of things I needed to know for my profession. The vendor showcases at the different conferences, especially at LIDA, I was absolutely amazed at how many vendors showed up. I had no idea how many people would be in that room. And they offer individual little training sessions for you while you're going through the vendor showcase to teach you about their products, whether it's Credo, Better World Books, Agent Verso, III, whatever the organization is that's at the vendor showcase. They give you a little Q&A and show you how to use their product, and I thought that was wonderful, especially being a new library director. I'm not sure which products I want to use, and being a student, I certainly didn't know enough. I needed to learn more. I was rather surprised by the amount of people that attend the conference. LIDA, the National Forum Conference, it costs a little bit more than the ALA annual conference, but it's because of the high-quality speakers that they bring in and the individuals that they pay to come to the conference. That's where the additional cost comes from. Let's see. This year's annual conference, it's going to be in Columbus, Ohio. I wonder if you can click through that and find that one. There it is. And this is the one I'm sitting on the development committee for the entire conference. We're working on putting the conference together. We developed the title, the discussion. We picked all the speakers, the groups, the different sessions that are going to occur. We did the entire scheduling for the entire conference. But if I wasn't on this committee, I wouldn't have been able to serve and develop this conference, which has just been a wonderful asset to my resume and just to overall be a library director to be able to do something like this. I noticed that one question that they ask is something that we have taken away and we can apply to our career. There's a lot of grant writing workshop at all the conferences. This new 2012 will have some, 2011 had some, but being able to write grants in this day and age of shortened library budgets is an important asset. I think everybody should take at least one session on grant writing, and I have been able to do that through the ALA conferences and the LIDA National Forum. I also met a company called Better World Books through the conferences. They're one of the vendors that showed up, and I had no idea what they did, but they actually support literacy around the world. And it started out as a very tiny company. Now it's a very large company that recycles books and sends them to areas of the world like Africa that don't have books. And as my new position as library director in Mid-Plains, I've partnered with Better World Books, and we've already sent them probably 15,000 books to recycle and send off to other countries. And then, of course, the library, the Nebraska Libraries Learning Together Facebook page. Even if you're not a student or you're not looking at a scholarship or you haven't gone to a conference, I still recommend looking at this page because there's just so much information shared between different people. I like to look on here and see what people I went to school with that were in my class, where they wound up, what they're working on, the projects that they're doing. And I just kind of like to keep tabs on what everybody that I had been in school with for 2 years is doing now and the projects they're working on. So I just go through and I look for the names that I know sometimes and see where everybody's at. And the information on here about the scholarships, events that are coming up, the commission, the small sessions that they have, the coursework that they offer, all of that is here on this page, and I find it very helpful. So if I'm looking for some additional learning or training on Kindles, I can come here and look, and they did just have a recent ebook session that popped up here on this page, and I can look at those. And I'm seeing names right now just on this page of people I went to class with. But it's very helpful just to browse through it, look through it, see if you find something. And even, like I said, even if you're not library related, it's still nice to see what people are working on. But that's about it for me. If you have any questions, let me know.
There you go.
Tina, I didn't exactly have you introduce yourself. Could you talk a little bit about your educational path, the positions that you've held, and the position that you currently hold?
Okay. I started out working as a library assistant at the University of Nebraska Kearney, and I did that for 5 years. And I was obtaining my master's in business administration when I started working there. And then my boss actually talked me into going back to library school because I loved what I was doing. So I finished my MBA, and then I went back to library school through Columbia, Missouri, and I got my degree. My classes were in Omaha with Becky Pasco. So I got my master's in library science, and right before graduation, I obtained a position as the area director for learning resources at Mid-Plains Community College, and I've been here since November.
Tina, you sound a little humble. You've done some amazing things, and we really appreciated you being a scholarship student, because I think that your involvement and your passion for the program really helped, I think, inspire others. And I wouldn't be surprised. Did you happen to talk with anyone else about the scholarship program? Did you see anyone that got a scholarship after?
Yes, I did. I actually had an opportunity at some different conferences to talk to some folks about the scholarship program and told them they really encouraged them to do it. I have another, one of the coordinators for our libraries, Sky Siri, and I talked her into applying for the scholarship, and she actually received a scholarship stipend.
She just asked about scholarship on the session, actually.
She's here with us
She's
today.
on the line right now, yes.
So I highly encouraged everybody that I work with to look at it, and Sky did, and she was able to obtain that opportunity. So.
Okay, and I'm going to put you in the hot seat for just a second. Are you going to be doing any sort of presentation at the Tri-Conference in, well, it's not in Omaha, but it's in the Omaha area with NLA and what used to be called NEMA and Mountain Plains Library Association? Will you be involved?
Actually, yes. Sky and I are giving a presentation because we're both new to Mid-Plains. There were 30-year directors here before we took over. We've made a lot of changes in 7 months. So we're going to discuss, it's called the ABCs of the 21st Century Librarian, and we're going to talk about the changes that we've made, how we've made those changes happen, the difficulties that we've had doing it, and how we're bringing our libraries into the 21st century.
Thank you so much, Tina. Thank you so much for joining us, and really appreciate your participation today.
Thank you.
And if we have time at the very end for any kind of round robin, or if anyone has thought of some questions by the end, we'll direct them if they're specifically for you. If you have something to jump in, just text us on the with the questions area. We'll watch for that, okay?
Okay.
Thanks so much. Do you need to change presenter?
Well, who's up next?
We've got, let's see, Tracy's up next. Tracy Tibbels, and we'll have her introduce herself. Do we need to unmute Tina?
Oh,
or mute Tina?
Yes.
Okay, Tina, you're off.
Yes.
Okay, and now we have Tracy Tibbels. She can give her a short little bio about yourself. We'll have you actually introduce yourself and then talk about the conference that you attended.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Tracy Tibbels. I am a recent graduate of the Library Science program. I recently obtained my second bachelor's degree in General Studies from UNO in Library Science. My first degree was in English many, many years ago. I have been a stay-at-home mom for about 11 or 12 years. I'm a mom to 3 children, but I've been a stay-at-home mom for about 10 or 11 years, and recently decided I wanted to go back to school and become a librarian. And so through some friends and connections, I met Dr. Becky Pascoe at UNO and got started in that program. And then I learned about the scholarship when I attended NLA last fall. I actually heard Tina talk about how it was a great opportunity, and of course Catherine mentioned it too, and so I applied and I was awarded a scholarship, and it was great. So I attended PLA in Philadelphia this past March, which was awesome. My brother lives in the Philadelphia area, so I was really excited to be able to go out there and see him, in addition to being able to attend the conference and that sort of thing. So that was really cool.
PLA stands for?
PLA stands for Public Library Association. It's funny because I think they have the Pennsylvania Library Association as well. So I was always like, is it, you know, when I was searching for PLA, I was, am I looking up Public Library Association or Pennsylvania? Or, so the conference was 4 days, I think, in Philadelphia. I don't know exactly what. Let me see.
You can go ahead and go off your notes.
Just
and
go
I'll
off
try
my
to
notes.
follow along.
I'll go off my notes. Okay. Well, I had just begun my practicum at the Walt Branch Library here in Lincoln, and my supervisor there had said that she had gone to PLA, and she was basically seething with jealousy because she said that PLA is a great conference and she would like to go again. She'd been before a couple times and she presented once, and she would love to go if she could, and so I knew I was in for a great experience. And like I said, having attended the NLA conference, the Nebraska Library Association conference here in Lincoln last fall, I knew kind of what it was going to be as far as sessions and a little bit of mingling and that sort of thing, but I had no idea what to expect as far as how huge this thing was going to be. It was, every day was packed full of incredible information, great sessions. There was plenty of time in between the sessions to network, to mingle, to find you know, a place to sit and process what you'd learned, that sort of thing. And it was just, it was over the top. There was a great I don't know which one to call it, the exhibition, where they call the exhibit hall. Phenomenal, and just the opportunity to meet other people from other areas and find like minds was just a great opportunity for me. I think one of the questions that you had asked was, did any Nebraska librarians meet or help me? And I sat in on one of the sessions was Sally Reed. I'm trying to think now what the name of that was. It was about being a friend of the library. Like, you know, you have your library board and all these people, but then there are friends of the library and people that are not paid to work with the library or whatever, but they do things for the library. And one of the things that she had said was, she asked, I think, how many people out there, how many of you librarians out there are actual friends of the library. And I just thought, well, that makes sense. You should, you know, if you have a vested interest in your library, of course you should be a friend of the library and obtain membership to that.
It's a nonprofit group. It tends to be a nonprofit group.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And to me that makes sense to if you want your voice heard as an employee. I mean, obviously you have a vested interest in what's going on with the library. To me that made sense. So after her session, we sat, a bunch of us Nebraskans kind of met and sat with her and sort of picked her brain a little bit about different things. I was also able to meet with, I saw Greg Michaels and a number of other Nebraska librarians. I apologize, I don't know everybody's name. Catherine was actually very integral to getting everybody together and making sure that we would hook up at different events or sit together for the keynote speakers and that sort of thing. The keynote.
I'll interject there for just a second.
Yes.
One of the things about going to a conference is as often as possible we try to send a mentor to help with the networking, help navigate the conference, help select the sessions, and help afterward with the free time, help again with more networking and just experiencing the city that you're in. Okay, go ahead. You wanted to talk about the keynote.
I was just going to mention the keynote speakers. There was one at the beginning and one at the end that I attended, both of those. At the beginning of the whole conference was Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and he was, I didn't know what to expect, honestly, because I was like, okay, he what's his involvement with libraries? And it didn't really necessarily say a whole lot about that, but he talked about he was very green and very environmentally active, and it just was very interesting. You know, I was kind of blown away and sort of awestruck by him, you know, after I got over the whole he's a Kennedy thing. You know, it was it's okay, you're highlighting advocacy for future of something that he values. It was, he talked about, like, one of the things he talked about was solar energy and the I don't know. I could just go off. The other keynote speaker was Betty White, and she was honestly part of the reason that I chose to go to PLA. I wanted to see her, and she's hilarious. She has such a warm nature to her. She's very philanthropic. Does that sound right? Very involved in lots of different things, talking about her care for animals in the zoos and that sort of thing. She just has done a lot of great things, and it was just really kind of fun. It was sort of like an interview thing where there was a gentleman that asked her questions and then kind of let her go off or whatever, but she wasn't just standing up there presenting. Let's see. I think one of the biggest things that I wanted to talk about was one of the things I learned at the conference that kind of surprised me was a session that I attended was called YA, and it was about young adult crossover appeal for regular adults. I guess what surprised me was how many adults are reading young adult books just for their own pleasure, not to know what their teens are reading or whatever, but because they're interested in the young adult books. I thought I was the only one out there doing that. And this session was packed, and so it was nice to see how many other people are out there of you know, various backgrounds that are doing the same thing, and it was a presentation about just current books that are available that are geared towards young adult, but that might have appeal towards adults. So that was kind of interesting to me, I guess. And the thing that I wanted to take away from the conference was that I would like to attend conferences like PLA whenever possible. Obviously, it was a great experience. I wouldn't have been able to do this without my scholarship, without the stipend for travel and that sort of thing. But even the Nebraska Library Association conference. I'm definitely going to make it a point to attend those things whenever possible, because it's a great opportunity to not only learn from the different things that other people have to say in a session, but the networking to me is crucial. Getting to know librarians all over and finding out, you know, that we're all struggling with the same things, or we're all, you know, trying to find the same answers, and we all have something to share with each other, is, to me, that's invaluable. So I will definitely attend as many conferences as I can.
Thank you so much, Tracy.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions for Tracy? I'm starting to see a trend here that once you get the conference bug,
Yeah.
you either want to be involved in helping plan the next conference or to attend the next conference.
Definitely.
And that's pretty easy to do. Pretty easy to do.
Yes.
Okay,
No
I think
question from Nick?
we would like to announce the arrival of another stipend awardee who attended PLA. Nancy Black is with us today. We didn't introduce her at the beginning because we weren't sure when she was going to join us. She's just not tardy. You don't get a tardy slip, Nancy, but wasn't able to join us right away. So I didn't want to introduce her until she was here. And Nancy is here. Nancy, we're going to unmute you.
She is.
You are unmuted.
Okay.
Could you say hello, please?
Hello, am I unmuted, Catherine?
Yes, we all hear you. Everyone hears you.
Yay, awesome.
So
And
thank you.
so sorry I was late.
We're happy to have you, Nancy.
Okay, and I just, before I kind of start on what I have to say, I have to say that you are so right about when you have attended a conference of this magnitude, it does just really pump up your enthusiasm and make you want to be a part of either the planning or to keep attending. And I mean, it was just so incredible to be there in Philadelphia. It was just one of the most wonderful experiences I think I've ever had in my life.
And Nancy, I'm going to mute myself here in just a second. But what we've been doing is asking our presenter, which is you, to introduce yourself, to talk a little bit about your education that you're going for, where you work right now, and then of course then talk about the conference that you attended. So I'm going to turn it over to you now. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Catherine. Well, my name is Nancy Black, and I am a scholarship recipient, and I have been working at Keene Memorial Library in Fremont, Nebraska. It will be 4 years this coming November, and I loved the work here so much that I decided to go back to school and work on my degree in library science at UNO. One of the people that I work with happened to run across an old flyer for the NLA scholarship, and so I applied and was awarded the scholarship, which has made continuing my education so much easier, not having to worry about so many of the financial aspects. I decided to use my stipend portion of my scholarship to attend the PLA conference in Philadelphia this year. As I said, one of the most fantastic experiences in my life. I mean, the people, the magnitude, I mean, it was just fantastic. There's no, I'm at a loss for words to be able to describe it. I would have to say, if I had to pick my number one thing that I took away, it was all of the people that I met from all over the country. I had been in school at UNO in the program for almost a year, but I guess the conference really opened up my eyes to how many different types of jobs there are within the library world systems. I mean, it's not just working in a school library or working in a public library. I mean, there are just a vast amount. I mean, there are medical libraries and law libraries, and I got to meet people that worked at just such a wide range of jobs. It was just incredible. And I spoke with librarians from Texas who were telling me about some of the new things because of budget cuts, that the school libraries in Texas are going to lose their librarians, and the school libraries are just going to be run by aides and volunteers, and some of their concerns about that. And I found that very interesting to hear about, and rather shocking, actually. The sessions, fantastic. I mean, cramming, I mean, it's difficult because the sessions only lasted, for such a short period of time, and they crammed so much information. So wanting to learn more, and that's one of the things that the NLA website is so good for, because as Catherine was saying, we're hooked up as scholarship students, and so we can go and we get on there and we talk to people, and we can find things to expand on some of the sessions. The keynote speakers were awesome. When Robert F. Kennedy, there were so many emails and stuff going around after he spoke, because nobody could really understand at first how his opening address had to do with libraries. It wasn't as much about libraries as it was about getting excited about your agenda, about what you want to do. And I took so much back from the conference, not just to my job here at Keene Memorial Library, but also to my studies at UNO. I was in cataloging class at the time of the conference, and so I attended the OCLC sessions, and I think you guys can bring those up. It was a breakfast session, which you kind of, at the breakfast sessions, you're kind of awake, but I'll tell you what, it was so interesting, and it was so helpful, some of the information that I learned during those sessions to take back to school and to help with the classes. It really was interesting. Let's see. I guess those are the ones that stand out for me.
I'm going to just interject here for a second. Some of those invitations were not actually PLA conference sessions. They were by the companies who participate as exhibitors, and they once you are registered, they email you these invitations. So it's kind of fun, because what these vendors do is they try to attract you to parties and breakfasts and social hours and that sort of thing, so that you see that they do support library work, and it's a way of them to thank. It's a way for them to thank, but it's also marketing on their part. But it's also an opportunity for free food.
Yeah, definitely, and the free food is always helpful on the budget. But the OCLC, one of the things they talked about was some upcoming changes that they're going to be doing in the Dewey Decimal System. And so that was really interesting for me, because, like I said, not only was I in cataloging class, but my library here is doing some updating in our nonfiction. So it was really helpful on both levels for me.
Thanks, Nancy. We're going to have you speak for a couple more minutes if you'd like. Didn't you attend a pre-conference, and didn't you meet one individual that just you really connected with? I thought I recall that.
Yes, definitely. I went to a pre-conference session about working up a public forum idea for your library, and I met a gentleman from California that we worked together because we're both having some of the similar issues with dealing with our Spanish and Hispanic populations within our library. And so, yeah, we really connected. It was pretty awesome. I've emailed him back and forth a few times. Unfortunately, because of the position I'm at in my library, all I can do is kind of make suggestions and hope it works its way up the line. But he, being the director at his library in California, he is doing some awesome, awesome stuff with working up some Spanish programs and English lessons and Spanish lessons, and it's just really turning out really neat.
What was the name of that course?
2.0.
Turning the Page?
Turning the Page, 2.0, yes.
And didn't you participate in the 6-week course as well?
I did. And at the kickoff for the pre-conference, we were broken up into small groups, and then our small groups we were broken up into partnerships, which is how I met the gentleman from California. And during the 6 weeks then, we kind of communicated with our partner and built up not only what they called, in quotations, parking lot speeches, you know, where you try and, you know, get people to come, and you plan little activities like, you know, we're going to have a bonfire, for example, I mean, and you pump up your idea, you know, like for me, as I planned it online, one of the things I had was having a piñata party, because you're trying to bring in a certain population and turn it into a party. And so that's where I kind of went with it, was trying to draw in a new population to the library.
Nancy, thank you so much for joining us. Does anyone have any questions for Nancy?
Go ahead and type them into the questions section of your GoToWebinar interface if you have any questions for Nancy or any of the other speakers we've had. We have one more coming.
Okay.
This guy had this question earlier about scholarship. I thought we might do it.
Okay. We did have a question about the various levels of scholarships, which I can go over at the end. But at this time, again, thank you so much, Nancy. We're going to turn this over. Thank you. And now we're going to turn it over to Andrew Sherman. And Sherman, thank you so much for joining us. Please introduce yourself, talk about your educational track, the jobs that you've held that have led, because you have a little bit an interesting career path, the path perhaps you want to talk about that led you to your current library position, and then please talk about the conference, and then if you can sneak in a little bit about emerging leaders in all of that, especially what you did while you were at PLA. Would appreciate it.
Okay. I'm fairly new to the library land. I've been a librarian now for a year and a half. I come from a corporate IT background where I was in senior management with IT and burned out on that, and decided to make a career path change, staying within IT. I'm a big homebrew beer guy, so career advice they give you is to find a job and something you like. And my two big loves are books and beer. So I decided I would find a book or a beer job. I was the IT for the Budweiser wholesaler here in Omaha for 6 years. So the beer job is what I had first. And when that job got to be kind of a boring maintenance kind of position, I decided to seek out a new job and was lucky enough to land a book job as the IT coordinator at Sump Memorial Library in Papillion. So one of the things I did immediately upon getting the job here, a lot of the research I did to move up career-wise in the library community, it's pretty much a requirement that you have your master's. So I took advantage of the 21st Century Librarian program and applied, and have started school with the Missouri MLS program through UNO, and have really enjoyed that so far. And then I also applied for and was accepted to the 2012 Emerging Leaders Program within the ALA. So this year I've actually done quite a bit of travel, which I don't expect to probably see in the future. because as an emerging leader I had to attend both ALA Midwinter and ALA Annual. And then Robin Clark, our director here, is a huge fan of the PLA conference. So she always does budgeting to have her and some of her senior staff attend the PLA conference, and they try and go every other year. And this is the year they were going to PLA, so I decided to use my conference stipend to attend PLA with them. And if you're a public librarian in comparing ALA to PLA, I would go to, if your money's limited, I would go to PLA every time. There were so many good sessions based on public libraries that I had a hard time even just picking out just the tech stuff, since I'm kind of the tech head, because there was so much of that also available. So what we did is Robin, I, myself, and then Kathy McMahon, our children's librarian, we all attended PLA, so we literally sat down and made sure we weren't duplicating attendance to some of the sessions so we could hit as much stuff as we wanted to, and then, you know, share information later on. And PLA was just an excellent, excellent conference. Like I said, I focused pretty heavily on attending technology stuff. There's a lot of good stuff on e-content, e-books. There was a session I really enjoyed that talked about how libraries are using iPads in their libraries. Another good session on near-field communications, which is kind of where you're going to be able to use your cell phone to, is literally an electronic wallet. You know, they talked about how it could be used with, you know, where your cell phone becomes your library card and things too. So that was a very interesting future look there. A lot of stuff on designing and building a library website, which was one of my major tasks when I came on board here, was to completely redo Sump's website. So I'm always looking for good ideas there to make it more appealing in a library perspective. ALA conferences are huge, and it's such a mix of specialties. As a public library, again, I think the PLA was a much more beneficial conference for us. And then the other thing that was nice is Lindsay Levinson, who is one of my emerging leaders team members, was also attending, so it was a nice chance to hook up with her and socialize with her a little bit too while we were at the conference. And then there was quite a delegation from Nebraska out there, so Catherine did a good job of kind of coordinating, so we all got to at least meet up at different things and say hi, so that was a lot of fun. So, like I said, PLA was a very good conference.
Sherman, I'm going to put you on the
hot Emerging Leader program. I'm sorry, what's that?
Oh, can I put you on the hot seat for a second before you go over to the Emerging Leader program? I think what I've noticed when I come back to a conference is one of the most difficult things is to follow up on the sessions you've attended and disseminate the information that you learned. So I'd like to kind of put you on a hot seat. You mentioned that with Robin and the other staff person that were there that you were going to divide and conquer various sessions and then share later. Did you share later?
Yeah, when we got back to the library, the three of us sat down and went through our conference notes, and then we actually presented stuff that we thought was important or interesting. We scheduled a staff meeting over the lunch hour where we had lunch brought in, and we were able to share with the staff the knowledge that we had gained with our attendance conference.
Thanks. Okay, you may now proceed to the Emerging Leaders section of your portion of your presentation.
Yeah, Emerging Leaders it's really a kind of a way to promote people to get engaged into the committee and leadership positions with ALA. They look for people that are motivated and are seeking to move into leadership and influencing positions, and that's really the goal of the program. There is a project the teams are assigned. Mine was a lot of fun. I got to work with 4 other librarians who I probably would have never had any interaction or met before, and we were trying to develop a criteria for video game reviews to provide a resource to libraries as they get into video game collections and lending and that, and then also hopefully turn it into a way to be able to even have the ALA possibly sponsor awards similar to books and audiobooks to also do the same thing for video games, since they're such a huge part of the social facets of the population today. So it was a great project. We had really good mentors we work with from the Gaming Roundtable within ALA, and we're already seeing our work from that move ahead, and they're working on getting an established section of the ALA website where the game reviews will be available. We'll be able to continue doing the reviews to benefit other libraries. So that was really exciting to be working on a project that I think is going to keep moving forward and keep producing. At both Midwinter and at Annual, we spent Friday all day in an emerging leader session where we got the typical leadership kind of training thing where they had a consultant that came in and shared, tips on leadership and what, strengths and things to develop as a leader. That was also very beneficial is they spent a lot of time at the Midwinter meeting covering the ALA structure, kind of talking about how it's structured, what it means to join the subcommittees and the committees, what's a good road path if you're looking at wanting to, have be on council or an office within the ALA, the best ways to build your ALA credentials or resume to be able to get to those positions in the future. So it was a really, really good program for offering kind of a view at the ALA structure, and if you're interested in participating and advancing through it, how to do that. So I'm still considering some different committees. I'm thinking about joining as part of the ALA. The challenge is with that ALA commitment, though, if you're on one of the committees, you pretty much have to be able to come up with the funding to attend ALA Midwinter and ALA Annual. And I think with the economy and some of the larger libraries seeing some pretty dramatic cuts, I think that's kind of hurt them the last few years in their participation, because there were some people I met there that they go to both conferences every year and they use their own vacation and their own funds to do it because it's so important to them. So it was a lot of it was very eye-opening and fun to meet those kind of people that were so motivated and care so much about the library community on a national basis. They were willing to make that kind of investment of their money and time to make sure things are moving forward and we're meeting the needs of our patrons.
Sherman, one more question for you here. I think I showed a little bit here. Let's see. Yes. One of the things that you can do at almost any of these conferences is that you can pick, most sessions are given subject headings, so they're assigned kind of to a track or more than one track, and so you were able to pull up all of the sessions that were assigned the technology, I guess you'd call it tag. Did you also try to attend some things that weren't technology related just to kind of get outside of your box or your comfort zone?
Yeah, I'm a big graphic novel comic book guy too, so I attended one of the graphic novel sessions, which was really, really good. Enjoyed that a lot. Also out of technology, ebooks, attended several sessions on ebooks, kind of a technology focus, but still a book focus on delivery to the constituents. But the graphic novel one I attended was really good. That was, let me find it here, Graphic Novels Get Graphic, where they had a librarian who presented on it. She was a young adult librarian and how they use the graphic novels to really draw young adults into the library. And then they also had an artist that's written several award-winning graphic novels that talked about kind of how his work process for how he designs and completes a graphic novel for his publisher. So that was a really entertaining session and very informative.
Thanks, Sherm. Does anyone have any questions for Sherm?
Nothing urgently coming in right now.
Okay, one other thing that I wanted to mention that was really cool about some of these conferences, I felt it was more effective at the PLA conference, was what's called Boopsie, and it was an app for your phone so that you could do your homework ahead of time and pick some of your sessions, because otherwise you run around with your head cut off. And it's also good to have a first pick and a second pick and a third pick, because I attended some that were full and they turned people away because of fire codes.
Oh, wow.
And so, especially at PLA, because it's a smaller conference site. And so, I don't know, Sherm, did you use Boopsie?
Yeah, that was an amazing app. I actually thought it was so cool. I actually went to the Boopsie booth later on the exhibit floor and talked to them to see, how they develop these apps for libraries and what's involved with the tool we can use ourselves. And it's pretty much a deal where you hire them and then they can develop that application for your library to basically completely make your library catalog and website, mobile and functional. But it was very, very impressive what they did for PLA for being able to schedule and track your attendance through the conference session.
Well, and what's nice, I noticed, they didn't use Boopsie, I don't think, at ALA, and then it was, whatever they did get for an app for a phone didn't become available for iPhones in time. But what's nice is that even the ones you had on your wish list, what I've noticed is since then, people have sent me emails about follow-ups to those sessions, things that have gone on since. So if not necessarily from PLA, but I have noticed it from ALA, is that there has been some follow-up with some of the session leaders to keep you interested in that topic, which I thought was really neat.
Yeah, the PLA mobile app was far superior, I think,
agree.
to what was offered at either of the ALA conferences I attended.
And Tina Walker, who attended LITA, also said that she absolutely relied on Boopsie. So that was great. Another thing, I don't know if any of our 4 students who are here today tweeted during the conference.
I can unmute everyone if they all want to be able to chime in.
Okay, yep, we're going to unmute Tina and Nancy, and of course we have Tracy here.
Yep, you guys are all unmuted now, so feel free to speak whenever you want to.
Doing any kind of live updates. I know that Tina updated on the Nebraska Librarians Learning Together Facebook page a couple of times. Does anybody here tweet?
I tweeted during the conference.
No, I did not. My
guy.
phone does not have that capability.
Sherm? Oh, Sherm, do you tweet?
I'm not a Twitter guy. I'm not a fan of it. I do use Facebook quite a bit.
Okay, yeah. And what I saw a lot of people doing at the conferences was taking photos of some of the screens. So when there was something interesting up on the screen during somebody's PowerPoint presentation, they were taking pictures of that. So I thought that was really cool, and I did that a couple of times. I took those pictures and then tried to update live to Facebook. So that was kind of fun.
I thought
And what I would do when I got back to the hotel at night, I would use the hotel's public computer, and I would post on Facebook some of the things that I had found interesting during the day.
Yeah, I posted on Facebook a little bit. I did tweet 1 or 2 times, but I had, not with my phone, but my Kindle Fire, and I had a little bit of connectivity issues while I was actually at the conference, but I would post at night from the hotel on Facebook. So, not so much a tweeter either.
And one thing that was nice is I was able to ask some of the other conference attendees, especially some of the tech heads, what other conferences they recommended. And obviously, the LITA conference was big with the tech people. The other one that was highly recommended that I'm going to try and see if I can get some funding to attend in the future is Computers in Libraries in 2013 was supposed to be a really good tech conference. It was kind of nice being able to get that feedback from kind of long-term people that have attended a lot of the different conferences and where they saw value.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is Krista. I go to Computers and Libraries in D.C. and Internet Librarian out in Monterey, California, oh gosh, for the last 4 years maybe. And yes, those are great conferences. They're a lot smaller than a PLA or an ALA or anything, which is great because you get a lot of that, what everyone's been talking about, the networking and the meeting people and the lobby con, hanging out in the lobby of the hotel or going out to the bars afterwards or whatever and keeping your networking going. They do sound like they're very techie oriented because it's computers in libraries or internet librarian, but it's actually very, if you go and just look at the previous conferences and their agendas, it's pretty much anything that relates to computers, internet, and libraries, which can be very broad. It's not necessarily how do I do this XML coding. No, it can be anything that could work for your library. As long as it's something vaguely internet related, they'll have it on there.
And does it also talk about advocacy and impact and programming and outreach and those sorts of things?
There will be definitely
so you don't have to be a gearhead, a tech head to attend.
I'm not, and I present at them. I actually do present. I presented at both of them, and I am not a techie person at all. I wouldn't call myself that. I'm more it's the techie in the sense of use this particular web product like Boopsie to do something for your library. There would be a session on that, which is just a totally useful thing for any library to use, and they're easy for a library to use, and someone would do a presentation on that possibly. Yeah.
We do have a couple of interns with us here today. They are interns at the public libraries who received grants from the Nebraska Library Commission through our IMLS grant. And your questions would be anonymous. I wouldn't name who you are if you have any questions for our scholarship students. The nice thing that's coming up is the Tri-Conference, and it is in Omaha this fall. And high school students, I know we had one intern last year who ended up pursuing, she went on to, she's starting her education in library science, and she is now a scholarship student. But you're under no obligation to do that, of course, but the state conference is a great way just to kind of see what's what, see what's hot, what's going on in Nebraska, and then they also bring in keynote speakers from across the nation, and even, you know, we might bring in someone from another foreign land, but it's a great chance to meet some librarians, or you can just hover and lurk. You can be as engaged or not as you want to be. The student price is only $17 to join NLA or NEMA. If you're interested in school libraries, it's a fairly reasonable price. And then there is a student rate to attend the conference. So if you're interested in that at all, I encourage you to talk with, oh yeah, let me pull up the webpage for the Nebraska Library. Let's see.
Just do nebraskalibrarians.org.
Mm-hmm.
I do. I don't know the direct URL myself.
Yeah, I went to the conference in Lincoln last year, and I think that's what really, when the opportunity arose to be able to go to Philadelphia, I think that having attended the one in Lincoln last year was one of the things that really made me so excited about getting to go to a national conference.
It is a good way to get your feet wet. It really surprised me. We had someone who's brand spanking new. She's starting out with her associate's degree with the Library and Information Services through Central Community College, and she jumped in with both feet. Got really involved by going to ALA, which is a huge conference. It can be so overwhelming, and it really surprised me that she was that brave. And what's nice about the conference in Nebraska is that we're bringing in Mid-Plains Library Association, which is the regional library association of several states. So it's going to kind of give it a bigger, broader base, and that is what has made this eligible for stipends, because we encourage the eligibility must be to a regional or national library conference, and since this is considered a regional conference. But anyway,
yeah, the MPLA actually is 12 Midwest states, and the conference rotates between all those states, and this year it's Nebraska. So it's great for us to be able to network, there's that word again, with librarians who will come to this, because it is the MPLA conference for this year.
Right, and as you can see here, the full conference is for students, if you register before August 1st, it's just $30. So if you can get away.
Yeah, that's something I would want to point out too, is take advantage of those student rates for almost any conference and any you attend. If you're enrolled, you can get a great deal.
Absolutely, absolutely. So did anyone have any questions for any of the students or me about the scholarship program or the internship program? If you have some specific questions about different educational tracks that you might be interested, or what level of scholarship you would apply for, this is me at the Nebraska Library Commission. My phone number. And again, you can visit the website to learn a little bit more about what's going on with scholarships and the scholarship program. Right now we're offering scholarships at the undergraduate levels, which is the professional certificate. You don't have to attend a school in Nebraska. If you find another program, you just need to be a resident of Nebraska. So there's the certificate, which in Nebraska is offered through Central Community College, and it's completely online. There's the Associate of Arts or Science, which you could receive in Nebraska through any of the colleges, the community colleges, and then you just do your library coursework through Central Community College. So they play well with others. In Nebraska, the Bachelor of Arts you can get through UNO or through Chadron State College, and I've just found out that we have a student who's pursuing his degree in education with an endorsement in library science from Wayne State College. So he had also considered going to the University of South Dakota, I believe, or it was a school in South Dakota as well. And again, the school does not need to be a Nebraska school to be eligible.
We do have one question from Anika.
Okay, great. We've got a person who's a new intern, and the scholarship program is a little confusing. Yes, because we're trying to do so much for so many people. What we do is this scholarship program provides tuition and fees toward coursework leading to a certificate or degree in library and information services, whether that's an educational degree or a general degree or a general studies degree, as long as you have a major in library science or a concentration in library science or school libraries.
And this can be online as well? Or does it have to be physically in person?
You mean the schooling that you attend? You can choose any school you want. If you're going for your master's, unfortunately, we're not offering right at this time any more scholarships at the master's level, but there are also undergraduate degrees and also technical degrees at the associate's level through community colleges as well, anywhere in the nation, as long as it's either ALA accredited or that the school itself is accredited, if it's an undergraduate degree. And so we've had people who went through Texas Women University. I've known people who've gotten their degree, I don't know if they were a scholarship student, through Drexel. There are some amazing different degrees. And if you go over here to Learning tab on Now Hiring at your library, down at the bottom here are the Nebraska ones. But then down at the very bottom, there is a list of directory of online degree programs in library and information sciences. It's an outside link. And it's no longer good. Oh, is it? Yes, it is good. I don't know how often this page is updated, so you might take that with a grain of salt. You may also go through ALA, their website. They may also talk about at least the schools that are ALA accredited, although those might be mostly master's level. Another question?
Actually, Tina says, who's actually gone through the process. Tina says, Tina Walker says if anyone has wants to email her with questions, feel free. She'd be happy to talk with anyone about this program, library service in general, or attending the conferences.
Tina, can you just type in your contact info and I'll share it here? You're at Mid-Plains, is that right?
There, I've unmuted you. Yeah.
Oh,
Excellent.
there's a T in my email address.
Oh, yes.
Walker T at, yeah.
There you are.
Word doesn't like my address.
Excellent. And we can, you know, if you want to contact any of these scholarship students, you can contact me and I'll put you in touch with them. This is, you know, our scholarship students, we want them to feel comfortable approaching other librarians to be mentored by them. But at the same time, it's great for people who are going through library school to become mentors to other individuals who are looking at going to library school. So I have a student here who's talking about schooling, and I'd be happy to put you in touch with any of these. So I see some pretty specific questions, and I'd be happy to follow up with you afterwards. I've noted who you are. And I'd be happy to have a phone conversation with you or start an email conversation with you after this session, sometime this week or next week. So I've noted your names. And if you're an intern, if you wanted to ask your library director, it's okay if you don't want to contact me right away. That's all right. But if you want to ask your library director about the options that you might pursue. And just keep this in mind too. Most of us, a lot of us have come to a library career through various paths. Well, we started out with different jobs and we discovered library science and librarianship. And then there are, what's really hot right now are people who are going into IT, but they see these lucrative, pretty neat jobs in libraries that are now requesting credentials in library science. So it's a pretty neat marriage of those. But also there are people, they're looking for people who are bilingual. They're looking for people, of course, who are interested in working with youth. And so if you have a passion, you could very easily find a place for yourself in a library. If you have a passion and you have a passion for library science. I'd be curious to see how Sherman can bring beer into Sump Memorial Library and Papillion. Now I'd really like to know how you bring those two passions together.
We're actually working on trying to get a liquor license through the foundation, so we might be able to do some programming on beer and wine.
There you go.
Yep, I've heard of other. Omaha Public Library has done that for some of their evening adult or focused events. They get it. You can get a one night or one day liquor license just for that limited amount of time for whatever event you're doing.
Yeah, we've done some chocolate tastings and stuff that have been hugely popular, so we would like to probably be able to do the same thing with maybe some beer and wine in that too.
Well, we've run over time. If anyone wanted to allot exactly an hour, we tend to get a little chatty, and it's great to go on tangents and that sort of thing. I just wanted to list the name of our, we'll just add you to our dictionary, Tracy. There you go. But many thanks to our four here today. Again, I want to plug that this was all made possible through a grant from the Institute of Museum and Library Services, which is the federal agency which serves the libraries and museums of the United States. And so we applied, the Nebraska Library Commission applied for a grant and received it in order to provide scholarships to Nebraskans who pursue a credential in library science that plan to work in Nebraska, and also for internships to public libraries, so that we might try to grow our next generation of Nebraska librarians. Yeah. I think that does it for us today. Thank you so much for your time. Krista, you want to plug what's next?
Just so everyone knows, those of you who did, I know a couple who, as Catherine was saying, had some very specific questions about the scholarships and whatnot. All of everything you typed in as questions is saved, so I will pass it on to Catherine so she can know ahead of time what you are asking about for when you do contact her too. I'll make sure that you have that. The session has been recorded, so will be available for you to rewatch or to share with anyone else you want to at any later time. And next week, I hope you'll join us when we have, let me find the right page here, Joyce Newhar and Emily Keston are two librarians from the University of Nebraska in Omaha who are going to be joining us to talk about using statistics from your library to connect things within your departments, within your library, in your institution, and with your outside community to try and get the information out there about what your library does or can do.
And Emily is a scholarship student, so I'm going to have to talk with her about this.
Yeah. They presented this, actually, we're talking about our local conference. They did this presentation last year at our NLA conference, NLA NEMA conference here in Nebraska, and I've asked them to recreate it for us on our NCompass Live for everyone who wasn't able to attend the conference to see what they had to say. So they will be with us next week.
And the next one?
So the one after that. This is Michael Sowers as our Technology Innovation Librarian here at the Nebraska Library Commission, and he does a monthly tech talk where he talks about the technology of the month with things, interesting stories and things that have come up, and he usually has a guest speaker, presenter, whatever with him. And this month he's got Andrew Bloom, who wrote his book Tubes about the history of the internet. I'm not exactly, it's an interesting read. There's a whole bunch of information on there. He's currently reading the book himself, so he will be interviewing the author of this book on the last Wednesday of the month. And that's all I got so far.
Okay.
So thank you very much for attending, and I hope you'll sign up for these. We have more things in the works for future months as well, so keep your eye on our webpage and on my announcements that I send out so you know what are coming up on our future NCompass Live sessions. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.